All right, Team HRC, Joe Shimoda, Ben Griffith here. He is his wrench. Factory CRF 250R. I may or may not know a little bit about this package, as Steve and I rode this at Washougal last year. But I'm gonna ask this gentleman right here if anything has changed. One of the most beautiful machines in the paddock. I think it's gonna be hard pressed to say something looks better than a factory HRC Honda. Holy crap, it looks really good. So Ben, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this thing you put in here. So let's talk a little bit about Joe. We'll just start this whole thing off like, what is Joe? How is Joe to work with, and what's he most pickiest with?
Joe to work with, really easygoing guy. Very mellow, laid back. He doesn't really get stressed with much. He's just an easygoing fella. If he has a bad day, he'll tell you, but he's really laid back.
Language barrier between you guys, okay?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Me being English and Joe being Japanese, but his English is actually really good, so can't complain there. There's a few things when we're testing that he struggles with to get his point across, but that's where his trainer Nick's very good, because he can kind of interpret what he wants.
Right.
But no, he's good to work with on that side of it for sure. The most pickiest things I would say with Joe are the position of his levers.
Okay.
Like the height of them and the distance from the handlebars, and the steering. Like he likes it particularly like not too light, not too heavy, because we obviously run a steering dampener, so he that's one thing. Every time he gets on the bike, he feels his levers, which I feel like is a common thing with most riders. But the steering, very picky with. Like I can change it like 5 Newton meters,
and he knows right away.
Straight away.
Really?
As soon as he sits on the bike, hey Ben, can we do this? Or a bit tighter, a bit looser, which is good. I like that.
Has he taken anything over from Hunter and Jet? Have they influenced him on anything? Just from my eye, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, levers are obviously pushed in a little bit.
Yep.
The steering is heavy, because I noticed on Jet and Hunter's bikes, those are really heavy steering.
Yep.
Has he adopted that, or is that just something he already had?
Well, from what I understand, he had the levers pushed their way in on his Kawasaki, but definitely when we built this bike for him to initially ride, because Hunter was the last person to ride and win on the motorcycle, we built him a Hunter bike.
Okay.
So everything was Hunter spec.
Got
from throttle, the throttle tube, the levers, the position of everything.
Handlebar, everything.
It was Hunter's bike.
Okay.
As soon as it come off a track, that spec is what Joe rode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So from just me looking at it, and there are some adopted pieces here I think Joe may have adopted, because I looked at his Pro Circuit bike last year, and some of those features weren't there on his Kawasaki that I see here now. Let's talk about the engine package. Again, factory engine, all built in-house. Has he had many options with the engine, or is this something that he just got presented and he's running now?
Well, he was presented with a package straight away, but we have done a lot of testing with him, with motor stuff, exhaust, different clutches, different stuff like that, But generally, what Hunter finished on, what like the last rider to win on it finished on, except for the header pipe,
yeah,
he's pretty much on that same motor.
Okay.
Yeah, because to be fair, it was such a strong motor, so good, so reliable in so many ways. It's hard to go away from something that's doing so well,
Was he vocal with you guys coming from the Kawasaki side did he want anything less or more than his previous machine going on to the Honda?
Yeah, there was a few things that he said that he liked about the Kawasaki, and same with every motorcycle, there's a dislike. That's just normal. So we tried to build them characteristics into what he liked into this, but when he first rode it, it kind of had them characteristics straight away, so he was happy.
Yeah.
Like I said, we have tried a lot of stuff with him, but he always goes back to pretty much what he started with.
So if you guys go look back on my video that we did in Washougal with Hunter's 250, I mentioned how much low-end torque the bike had. Like, it's really amazing to see how much you guys have put into the engine, because a lot of people say, oh, Honda doesn't have a lot of bottom end, but the factory bike out there, it has a lot of front side engine. It's very snappy. So I think some of that you're talking about with Joe's Kawasaki has relayed over into this Honda, because there's a lot of touch, a lot of feel.
Yeah.
And you guys are just lengthening the head pipe to get some more of that for Supercross.
Yeah, well, Joe doesn't rev the bike.
Okay.
Like a lot of other riders may do. So to give him the longer header, which creates more torque in the motor, he really liked that feel, because he didn't have to rev it to get it to go.
Right.
And he can just really and he's not a guy that's heavy on the clutch generally, so he can really rely on the motor, the torque of the motor, especially when it's like on a 250 where you need that punch, go 3 out of a turn. that's where it helped a lot.
It's amazing to me, Ben, like how smooth of a Japanese rider he is. If you look back on the Japanese riders that have come to America, they weren't smooth riders.
No.
And he's one of the smoothest riders we have here now.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. Suspension-wise, is he picky with suspension? How is his setup? Is he low in the rear, front and high? You know anything about that?
He's actually, compared to other riders, he's actually high in the rear.
Okay.
Loves front end feel.
Okay.
And he likes the front to be kind of lower. So he's got the lower bars compared to what Hunter runs his forks through slightly further in the clamps.
Looks like we're up about 5 mil on the clamp.
Yeah, we're at 5 mil, where Hunter generally is between 2 to 3. And yeah, he loves that front end feel, weight on the front. He loves to turn the bike off the front wheel, where surprising where Kawasaki turned it off the rear. So yeah, that's one thing with the suspension he's big with.
Where's he at in the sag? Is he like up 100, 98?
Yeah, we're at 98.
Okay, so and that's common in Supercross. A lot of guys want a high sag to get through the whoops and get some front end feel.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see they have these pieces right here on the side.
Yeah.
Are these for grip for him?
For Joe, he's very light on the bike, so he doesn't actually grip as much as most riders do, in my experience. But with the wings on here, he said he's able to grip the bike, squeeze it more through the whoops.
Yeah.
So obviously the skinny spar, his ankles kind of rock on it.
Got it.
And then with these, it's like more of a planted, like more surface area, so he can really get hold of the bike when he's going through the whoops and take control of it.
Final drive gearing, where are we at on this? Is it a 13, 14 or?
We're at 1351.
Okay, 1351. And obviously you guys out there, transmissions are probably different than your guys' CRF 250Rs at home, and so that obviously affects the power output. What's amazing to me, and I don't know if you know this, does Joe ride first gear a lot on the track?
No, he doesn't have to on this bike.
No, doesn't have to?
No.
Okay.
He can ride it in second a lot. Might be a little bit different when he's racing, but when we're at the test track, he's in second gear a lot.
Renthal Fat Bar, what bend is he on?
827.
827, which is, I've done a lot of these videos here today, and a lot of riders are on 827 bend.
Yeah.
It seems like a common bend. Is
Yeah,
he cut?
seems to be.
Does he shorten them, or is
No,
he?
standard width.
Okay.
And he's at 0 position on the mounts. So the bike now, from where we started to where we are now, he's very neutral on the bar clamp position.
Now you can answer these questions to say simple yes or no. We've done a lot of these factory mechanics, and they can't say a lot. So the stock offset on a CRF 250R is 22 millimeters. Is he on stock offset? Yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, so there's a lot of these guys are actually running stock offset with different races, but as you guys know, in some of these other videos, you'll notice that they'll go to a stock offset with a different 15 or 30 races. So unlike us mere mortals, we can't get races because they're very expensive. It's hard to make and very tedious work. So some of these guys want to have stock offset and then bring that out a little bit. So we don't know. Linkage ratio, stock, yes or no?
No.
Okay. And then final one, the length from the swing arm pivot to the rear axle. Do you guys have a number in mind, and do you always stay within that number from race to race?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we always stay within that number. I can't tell you what that number is, but yeah, we have a number and we keep within it.
Does that ever change for you guys when you guys change gearing? Do we change gearing a lot?
No, we don't. With Joe, to be honest, we have tried, but it's like the motor. He always goes back to this.
Okay.
And we're happy with this, and he never even talks about changing it. So we just leave it at this. So obviously the length of the bike, obviously with chain tension, changes within millimeters, but it's so fractional, they don't even notice it.
And do you guys have your own chain tension, like, slack
Preset
dimension?
slack, yeah,
okay.
we do.
So that's a spec that you guys have?
Yeah, so it has to run between a certain amount. Obviously, if it gets too loose, then the wheel goes too far back, and then we can't have that. Then we have to replace the chain or the sprocket or whatever it may be to bring it back.
Solid bar mounts?
No.
We're on rubber bar mounts?
Yes.
Okay, so he's one of the very few that actually do run rubber bar mounts in the paddock. So it's not actually unique to here. Are we on, how many millimeters is bar mount height? Do we know that?
36 mil.
Okay, 36 mil. A lot of these guys are between 35 to 45 mil, depending on the height. Joe is 5'9"?
Oh, I'm going to say around there, yeah.
Yeah. And he's pretty light.
I don't know exactly.
Pretty light guy?
Yeah, I think he's like maybe 145, 150.
145, 150. So that's actually heavier than I thought he was.
Yeah.
Okay, last bit of information here. What are you most proud of on this machine? You guys every week take this thing down the frame.
Yes,
and
sir.
it looks amazing.
Thank you.
And what are you most proud of?
For me, there's a few things that I'm actually proud of.
Okay, rip them off. I love it.
Okay, front caliper on a Honda, I think it always stands out. I know a lot of people run it, but we obviously polish ours up, so I think that looks really cool. And there's a lot of modifications that we do on the bike that you don't really see, from the plastics to other little bits and bobs. But also, I think our hydraulic system is really cool.
It looks really
it's
good.
Super clean.
Yep.
I know there is other ones out there, but this is obviously a factory part. And to me, like, that's what makes it's things like that makes it a factory
I guess
bike.
that's something I didn't touch on. You guys would run a hydraulic clutch on the 250 that the Honda doesn't currently come with.
Correct.
And yeah, it looks really clean.
Yeah.
Is he particular with his clutch engagement on it?
Yeah, there's a window that he likes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why we actually run that system with what they call a knocker, like the pin in it.
Yep.
So it gives him that perfect window of where he likes it.
And is he on stock branded levers?
He is at the minute, but we are getting ARC ones to go on there.
So he doesn't shave them down or anything?
Nope,
Stock.
nothing like that.
Okay. And final one here. How'd you get involved in being a mechanic, man? Like, did you ride dirt bikes or where are we at?
Well, I'm originally from the UK.
Yep.
So I raced bikes back in the 90s, early 2000s. So yeah, that's my background, and then I was never going to be a pro racer. So I went into being a bike mechanic, went to school to do that. Done that for a little while in England, then I moved to Australia. Lived there for 11 years, worked down there for Factory Yamaha and other race teams. And then I came here for West Coast Supercross in 2019.
Okay.
And I worked for Carrie and Brian Shear at Grindstone Compound.
Right.
And I worked for their son. But unfortunately, he got injured pretty badly in Seattle. But I also, at that time, I got no Jason Anderson. And then I went back to Australia to work for Kawasaki, and then I get a message one day, and Jason's like, hey, give me a call.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh, he wants to know. He was coming to Australia at the time to do Aussie Supercross. And I thought, oh, he just wants to know where to go or good hotel to stay, because it was in the city that I was living in down there. So I ring him, and he's like, you want to be my practice mechanic? So I worked for Jason for 3 years. He's a practice mechanic. 2 years at Husky, a year at Kawasaki. He was good as gold to me. Unfortunately, the job ended because he moved back to Cali and they didn't need practice mechanics anymore.
Right.
And then I went and done World Supercross the first year. And then I get a call. I knew the Lawrences from Australia. And I get a call from Darren, and he's like, hey, I'm going to tell Lars to call you. Like, I want you to go be the test mechanic. So I was like, perfect. I don't need to do the race gig or anything no more. I'll just be a test mechanic at Honda. So I'd done that for a year, and then Joe come along, and Lars is like, hey, you want to do the race gig? And I'm 40 years old, and I was like, do I want to do that at my age? You know?
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, and then I was like, spoke to my girlfriend, and she was like, you don't do it, you'll kick yourself in the ass. So here I am.
That's awesome.
40 years old, wrenching for the young Japanese kid, and I love it. It's
I mean,
great.
arguably one of the best teams we have here, Team
100%.
HRC. So,
like growing up as a kid, I remember going to Paris-Bercy and going to see McGrath and Stanton and Lamps and them guys
a lot of
race,
nostalgia
you know?
here.
Yeah. So when I came across to hit this, for me it was like, you work hard. Like, I know people say like cliche, but you work hard, you get your dreams, you know.
Yep.
And that's this for me.
A little bit
100%.
about Dazzy. He's a smart guy.
Very smart man.
A lot of people don't know, like Jet and Hunter's dad. He's very particular with motorcycles, and like he knows a lot about them, and he watched his sons grow up, and
For sure.
they rely on his dad to help set some of that up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I was with Jason at Husky, it was Compound 83 then in Florida, and me and Dazzy taught me to drive all the machines, and at that time they didn't have a track guy, and me and Dazzy would work on the track. We'd work on the bikes in the day, and evenings we'd work on the track to get it ready for the next day for the boys. So yeah, I got a lot to be thankful for Dazzy. He's helped me to get where I am now. Well, all Lawrence family, to be fair.
It's really good.
They've been good guys.
It's awesome. Well, Joe Shimoda here at A2. Ben, thank you. I appreciate that. And don't forget to come by the HRC truck. And obviously, root for Joe, but this guy as well. So thanks for helping.
Appreciate it. Thank you.